Pull up a chair and get comfortable. It's time to talk about your federal benefits. Federal Employee Benefit Coordinators presents the FEBC Podcast with Elizabeth Inman and Brian Fentress.
You know, I'm so excited to be here in our third segment about how you could become a TSP millionaire, but this is really about retirement. The first two segments, I went over a lot of the TSP changes. You know, if you missed those first two podcasts where I got pretty technical, I mean, we went through a big, huge transition. We're now in the new TSP now. If you missed those, it was very technical. In fact, you know, I picked up papers and I read to you because I wanted to get everything right. But there's lots of good information. Just look in the link below and go back and listen to those podcasts. But we're really getting down to the nitty gritty. We're really getting to the part about those dreams that I want to talk about for you today. So let's go with me. My energy is going to be a lot higher. I had somebody come into my office just this past week and they were referred to me by somebody. A friend told them about, hey, you're thinking about retirement. You ought to come talk to Elizabeth. They came into my office and they were with one of the federal agencies here in our local area. They didn't even really know why they were coming. They didn't get into a lot of the details about why they would come to Elizabeth and talk about potentially retiring. They didn't have an exact date in mind because, quite frankly, they had no idea if they could retire or not. Now, their stress level wasn't real high because they hadn't really dug into, am I ready to retire? Their thoughts were, it's probably going to be a while. But we sat down, and by the time I started talking about all the resources, all the reports, all the tools that we had, and when we finished, that person made a decision to retire this year with substantially more income in retirement than they ever dreamed they were going to have, simply because we put together the resources, we put together the tools, we put reports in their hands that showed them exactly the income, bounce that against what income they needed, what expenses they were going to have, and all of a sudden, poof, they saw their dreams come true. And they were so excited. And when they walked into our office based on a referral, what a friend told them, they had no idea. So that got me to thinking, I want to talk to you. This is a podcast. You're listening to me over the World Wide Web in some form or fashion. You may just be hearing the sound of my voice. You may be on YouTube watching me speak to you. And I want to point you in the direction of our website. I haven't talked a whole lot about that with you guys, but it's www.febcnow.com. Where was that website when I retired? I would have given anything to be able to go onto that website and have the resources at my fingertips that I needed when I got ready to retire. What this gentleman needed that came into my office this week, he didn't even know our website existed, let alone that he could go on and actually get free resources available to him without even talking to Elizabeth. Now, we'll help you sit down and put together a strategic plan that fits you. But I want to point you in that direction right now. Did I mention www.febcnow.com? When you go onto that website, you're going to have a lot of information available to you at the click of a button that it took me hours and hours to figure out on my own when I got ready to retire. Or it would take you hours and hours to research and to dig and find videos on opm.com. .gov's website or this website or that website. It's all there for you and it's free. Everything that's on that website is free and under no obligation whatsoever. So I know this is a podcast series about TSP, but there's all kinds of resources on there, like a FEGLI report that will show you what your FEGLI is now while you're working and what that will look like after you retire. Huge changes take place with your FEGLI, Federal Employees Group Life Insurance. Other reports like your Federal Employee Benefits Analysis that will give you a 10-year projection, 10 years to decide which year is the best year for you to retire. Inside that report, there's TSP information. There's federal employees' health benefits information. There's life insurance information. More information than you can even imagine inside of your own federal employee benefit analysis report. But let's focus in. This is a podcast about TSP, becoming a TSP millionaire. Now, here's the deal, folks. I do understand that not everybody is going to retire as a TSP millionaire. But I just want to ask you a question. Thinking about your retirement, what do you suppose it would feel like the day you retire? You turn in your keys, you turn in your badge, and you walk out the door knowing you have $1 million in your TSP account. What would that feel like? Okay, I started this off saying not everybody's going to have $1 million in their TSP account. I get that. So think about where you are right now today. What is your balance in your TSP account right now today? Now let's think about that day you turn in your keys, you turn in your badge, you walk out the door knowing that you've doubled where you are today. Oh, I know. Some of y'all have just lost 10%, 20% because of what the markets have done lately. Oh, I know that feeling. Do you remember my story? I lost 1/4 of my TSP 2 years before I retired. I know what that feels like. But you know what happens after every market correction? Oh yeah. Are you prepared to take advantage of these next 2-3 years? Are you prepared? Well, if you go to our TSP calculator on our website, www.febcnow.com, and if you go, okay, now I'm gonna go slow, and I want to go make sure we go to the right place. You go to that website, and you click on the resource tab, and then you go to the TSP Millionaire Calculator. There is a tool there. I can't even imagine how different my retirement would have looked if I just had the TSP Millionaire Calculator to play with. To just play with. No obligation. Nobody's going to hound you. You just get to go in there, input information, and play with it. Now, let me tell you what I did this morning, knowing I'm going to do this podcast for you today. I went to our website, www.febcnow.com. I went in there and I put in an age. I just pretended that I was back as a federal employee again. I put in an age. I put in age 45. I only wish I was still 45. I put in that retirement age was going to be 56. I put in a salary of $92,000. I put in that I currently have $102,000 in my TSP account, and I distributed various amounts throughout the funds, like 10% in the fixed account, 10% in the G fund, various amounts in the TSP, and I used a conservative risk tolerance amount, and then I mentioned I allocated those funds. Well, when I hit calculate, it came out that my $102,000 in my TSP at age 56, if I continued to manage my own account by myself, would have come out around $561,676. That's right, not a millionaire, not a millionaire, but by my calculations, that's $500,000. That's a whole lot better than $102,000. But if by chance I took advantage of something I'm going to be talking about, the TSP Risk Guard, that's our proprietary process that we use that manages your TSP right inside of your TSP. The outcome was projected to be $647,252. That's an increase of $85,576 over me managing that account all by myself. And I never have to move anything outside of TSP. Now here's the deal, guys. Whether I use the funds of me managing it myself in that calculator, or I just simply play around with what TSP Risk Guard might do for me, that is downright fun to do. It's fun to see what if, and by the way, that was at putting 16% of my salary in, taking full advantage of the 5% matching from the government. Yes, indeed. We always want to do that. That's 100% return on our money. Me putting in 16%. Maybe you can't do that. Maybe you can only do 10%. Change the calculator. Are you getting my whole point here? Are you getting the message? There's a calculator online that you can play with the numbers. Maybe you're wanting to see what would those numbers look like if I increase from 8% to 10%. And then you see those numbers at 10% and then you think, ooh, maybe I could do 12%. You know, I had somebody in my office just this past week as well that was sitting down and said, what would it be at 20%? I think I'm ready. I've only got 1 year left to retire, and I want to put myself in a better position to retire. What happens if I do 20%? Well, what is the downside of 20%? We can all figure out what the upside of increasing to 20% going into TSP, right? I mean, more money in retirement. Exactly. Saving taxes because it goes into TSP tax deferred. We get that. But what's the downside? Why do we have to be cautious if we're looking at putting up to 20% of our salary into the TSP? Because you don't want to exceed the limits. Because if you exceed the limits, you stop the matching. You don't want to do that. Can you see the value in having a calculator at your fingertips? A free calculator that you can go in and play with those kind of calculations yourself and have it spit out a report for you? That's what you have. That's just one of the tools that's available on our website, www.febcnow.com. And I've already mentioned there's a I've already mentioned that there's a FEGLI calculator that'll help you see the changes that happens to your federal employee group life insurance after you retire. There's a change in the cost and there's a change in benefits. There's a place where you can request your free benefits analysis. There's a place on there where you can get the free ebook, The 6 Keys to Understanding the New TSP Mutual Funds. See, I didn't even play around with the mutual funds when I messed around with it. You can play around with the mutual funds. And you can get a guide to the TSP mutual funds for free right on our website. We're going to talk about this in our next podcast, by the way. And then in the last of our podcasts, podcast number 5, we're going to do the TSP Millionaire. We're going to talk about our free ebook available on that website, the TSP Millionaire. I'm so excited about these things. I'm excited because I never got this opportunity. I never had anybody, not one time in almost 24 years of service, talk to me about potentially being a TSP millionaire or potentially increasing my TSP by 50% or 25%. I never had anybody talk to me about my TSP. The only thing I had was what is the number one source that we all have available today, and that's, oh, hey, Joe, what are you doing with your TSP these days? Or, oh my goodness, did you lose money today, Sally? What are you doing now? Did you make changes? That is literally the number one source that we have as federal and postal employees today, is we rely on one of our neighbors on what they are doing. Not anymore. Not anymore. You have www.febcnow.com and you have me. You've got Elizabeth. You've got Brian in my office. You've got a whole team available to help you and to guide you through the process. So give us a call, 918-396-5171. We'd love to talk to you. So I'm so happy you joined me today on this podcast. Don't forget, next time we're going to be covering one of the free ebooks that's available on the website, The 6 Keys to Understanding the New TSP Mutual Fund Window. Right inside of your TSP, we're going to talk about that very topic that nobody wants to talk about, and I've got a free ebook just for you. So tune in next time to our next podcast. I can't wait to see you.
Thanks for listening today to the FEBC podcast with Elizabeth Inman and Brian Ventress. If you would like more information about the topic discussed today, or if you have a subject that you would like us to cover on a future podcast, send us an email or give us a call. We're passionate about helping you maximize your federal retirement. Thanks.